President, fellow Toastmaster, and fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. My speech tonight I had to think about quite strongly. As you remember, I said my first speech was on the pets. But I decided this time that something came into my brain when I was trying to think, and communications was the actual word. And I thought communications is such a major, vast subject that we can either look at or improve, and look at ways we can improve it. In the past, when I was younger, growing up, we were able to speak to people when we were travelling on the trains, when we were looking at people, we looked at people, we interacted with people, we were able to find out where they were coming from, what they were doing, and many other things that made us maybe have more friends and be communicative with people. Sadly, I feel, as time has gone on, communication has developed, but developed into such a way that if we sit on a train or if we sit in anything, we've got our headphones on, we're looking in our phones, we're doing this, we're that, we're not even acknowledging that we've got somebody beside us that might want a discussion or want to look. You sometimes smile at somebody and you go, whatever. And you think, well, why? Why can't we be communicative, talk and smile? You find out what people like. You might even find out that when Christmas or birthdays come, this is what friends might like if you listen to conversations. Instead of getting people just buying presents, oh, that will be doing for so-and-so. And the person might hate what you're giving them, or not like what they're giving them, but you've had no interaction with them to find out what they say, how they're saying it, and what they're doing. And so you don't actually learn. I mean, somebody said to me the other day, and how do you know all these things? How do you interact, and how do you know things that we are there and we sit there the whole time? I said, because I listen, I talk, I communicate, I go to meetings, because that to me is important. And sometimes even people will communicate and they will expect somebody to know. How many of you have received or been told that somebody has sent you a letter and never actually received it? But the person didn't know you didn't receive it, so they expected you to act on the letter that they actually sent you. How many of you have said, well, I sent that email. Has a person got a problem with the computer? Has the person received the email? How does that person know what's happening if we just think, because our email's fine, everybody else's emails and communications are fine? Do we ever think to check on the communication, to check that the person has received the email, or to check what everybody is doing and how they're doing it? Or do we just assume, oh, we sent that message, so that person's got it, or where is that person, or how are they? Communication is such a valid and important thing, and I think that sometimes we just maybe assume that because we know, everybody else knows. And not only that, when you're thinking about communication, do we ever think about the lonely, or the people that need communication and need to visit the neighbours, or need to have communication to say, how are you? Are you all right? Or how do we communicate and what do we do? I think that sometimes we all need to have a look and think more about the communication, how we speak. Do we make sure that everybody has got the right and the communication and even knows how to communicate? Because some people might be sitting there waiting for somebody to ask them for a meal, ask them for somebody to come round to tea, ask them to come and speak, or ask them to do something. And we all think, oh well, because we're happy in our own little shell, everybody else should be happy in their own little shell. But do we actually look and see how in our groups and in what we do, how we can communicate and be more communicative to the many people that are around, and how we can open up and educate ourselves more, and maybe not be a little bubble in a little thing, but go out and say, oh, I went to this meeting, I didn't see you there, were you all right? Could we communicate? Could we join? Or even if you went to a meeting and you didn't know what happened, did you know what happened at that meeting? Can we tell you something? And sometimes I feel that people are saying, we are all living in busy lives. We've all got busy lives, one way and another, I presume, but we've all got busy lives. But 5 minutes on the phone, are you okay? We missed you. Did you find that thing out? Or shall we send a card? Or shall we send a letter? Just to make sure that you are okay and we can communicate and do things and be more available to people in case they need us. And even as I was saying earlier, it makes us feel good if we can find out what the hobbies are, what people's like. How many of you, go to these dinner parties and have to sit there? Ooh, didn't really like that, but did anybody ask me? Or they thought I liked flowers. Now I know somebody that hates yellow. So I know that in communication, I would never send her yellow flowers. And another thing that comes to mind within communication, I know there are different cultures and different religions and different things that we can hurt people with without knowing. Now something comes to mind, and I can't for the life of me think what culture it is, but there was somebody when I was working that asked anybody in the office if they could bring in a flower from their garden. Now, most of us know that when you bring in the flower from the garden, you smell it. But this actual person said, because it had been smelt, it was no good to them. They couldn't use it on their thing. Now, how many of us would know that? But we would smell it just normally. So that is what I think about communication and how we all need to learn, I feel, to communicate more and forget the mobile phones, forget the ear plugs and forget the iPads and talk to people. Thank you.